joining us. My name's Roshni. I'm on the Ford Michigan Central team. For those of you unfamiliar with Michigan Central, it is the new mobility district that Ford is building in the Detroit neighborhood of Corktown. And we're really excited to be bringing together different innovators and collaborators to build and test the most cutting edge mobility solutions in this space together. Bamboo has been one of our key partners as we start to bring together that mobility community of innovators. And so together we've been hosting a series of events. Last year we hosted the Michigan Central Sessions, which some of you may have been familiar with, which was a series of panels on different aspects of the mobility industry. And this year we have a number of different format events that we're planning as well. Some of the feedback that we heard from you all last year was that you wanted more insight into, how to successfully launch a pilot in Michigan as a mobility founder. And so that was kind of the inspiration for this event. So we're really excited. We have a great group of mobility startups here to talk to you about how they were able to launch their companies in Michigan. So thanks so much for joining.
Thank you so much, Roshni. Now I'd like to welcome our first speaker, Shadi, who is the CEO and founder of Pedestrian, a company that is building driverless delivery technology here in Michigan.
Hi, everybody. Thank you. Let me just share my screen. Hopefully you guys can see my screen. So we're Pedestrian. Just a quick history. When we started, we were really focusing on micro delivery, and we had our technology, basically a robot as well as a trailer, and we actually had the patent for that was granted last year to have a modular trailer attached to a robot that you could modify and repurpose it for different micro delivery. As well as we did also some pilots kind of experimenting with using the trailer as a mobile gas station almost for EVs. We had a pilot that we ran around the campus of U of M, and we learned quite a bit from that. And of course, what happened is, as everybody else, we got hit with COVID-19. Luckily for us, we were actually running a pilot inside a hospital, a major hospital in Detroit. Hopefully you guys can see the video. It might be a little bit slow. And we were trying to also learn about doing micro delivery indoors. And that pilot taught us quite a bit, and it surprised us how much of a good reception we got from the hospitals and the need that we uncovered. We also learned really all the kind of not only the edge cases inside a hospital, but also all the challenges like an elevator, how to handle an elevator with a robot and a delivery vehicle. Basically, I mean, what we did for our technology is we took an autonomous car and scaled it down to the size of a wheelchair. So what we were trying to do, not to actually approach this from the perspective of a warehouse robot with limited sensing, but to enable that robot, even if it's small size, to be almost like an autonomous car and be able to navigate in a very crowded area, as you can see in the video. And we equipped it with also voice, and the voice was actually broadcasting what will the robot be doing. And that helped us learn quite a bit about how people react to something like this, if it's inside a hospital or even eventually outside in an urban setting, crossing a street. So the voice modality of interaction with pedestrian is something that we learned quite a bit about. And we also, understood the rate of adoption, not only from a hospital staff or pedestrians that were around it, but even on the executive level, what would be something like this? How would it be received? The interesting thing about this is that we found through the pilot, we ran a really detailed study with the staff and looked at the logistics of the hospital. And it was really very interesting, very eye-opening. First of all, in the US overall, we have a shortage of about 500,000 in nursing. and that's not going to go away. And match that with an aging population that's going to double in the next 10 years, who will be leaving the workforce, and at the same time, they'll need more care. And through our pilot, we found that we can actually reduce 20% of that shift time. And that's really a very high number. And it was verified by 2 hospitals that we did the study with. Hopefully you guys can see this image. On the right side, this is from inside different hospitals where you could see how they do logistics. And it's really archaic, old way of transferring things. If it's a vacuum tubes, or what they do with these carts for transferring prescription drugs, or in the middle where you see they're transferring all kinds of things from linens to food. So for us, it seems a better unit economics to focus and solve this problem, where you're really solving a $30 per hour problem compared to delivering something like a pizza or food, which the maximum you could get $14 an hour. So for us, made us, learning from this pivot totally to focus on indoor and specifically on healthcare. And internally, we learned quite a bit too. We started integrating quite a bit on our platform to not source certain suppliers and target certain vertically integrated technologies ourselves, like the sensors that we use quite a bit, and we even use in the infrastructure. So that was very, very helpful to learn from these pilots and really focus where we would do our hardware integration. I'll end with this slide. From everything that we learned in the past 6 months, we decided to pivot and produce a robot that's specifically for indoor. And we took all the feedback that we learned from the hospital, from the staff, from the people who are involved with the pilot, to have it really COVID-19 ready. And not only for COVID-19, but for any pandemic that would occur in the future. So we made it contactless. We made it have a UV disinfection for inside the bin, and have it really modular. Even on the voice side for the interaction, we created a dashboard where even the hospital staff or IT can curate that user experience, so they can change the response of the robot. And that was very important for us to kind of understand not only what the pain point, but what is the wish list for the staff, or the people who will be using it and solving these pain problems, these pain points. So it was really very helpful. And now we're getting ready to release this by the end of May. So that's it. Hopefully you guys get a really nice overview of really kind of quite a shift for us in pivoting from outside urban delivery to actually focusing on indoor. Thank you.
Thank you, Shadi. That was great. I really liked the video. As we just mentioned in the chat, if you have any questions for Shadi or Pedestrian, please feel free to throw them in there, and I will read them off to him. But I guess to kind of kick us off, Shadi, were there any resources that you found that you needed that you didn't think you would when you first started the pilot?
Could you repeat that? What do you mean by?
Yeah. Were there any key resources that you had to go hunting for when you were getting on your way? Resources, anything from permissions or non-disclosures, or certain things that could be useful for somebody who is thinking about doing this next time?
Yeah, I mean, one of the biggest things is really dealing with infrastructure, if it's outdoor or indoor. But I'll mention the example of indoor. Indoor, we really had to deal, for instance, with the elevator. We had to figure out how does the state really approve modifying the elevator. Things that didn't occur to us. Things seeing around the corner, for instance, for a robot, and having to possibly put cameras almost like you do on a traffic light if you're doing an outdoor for SDRC. So that was kind of a big kind of an eye opener to kind of deal with sometimes even the bureaucracy or the staff inside the hospital to understand how to really have somebody to go in between. That's really one challenge. The other challenge is definitely talent. Robotic and autonomous is really in a very high demand. So getting access to talent is also always a challenge.
Absolutely. We do have an audience question for you from Matt. What was the success rate from the robot making it from point A to point B?
So it's actually 100% success robot, but there's a caveat to that. We were running the shift around only 4 hours, so we didn't get a chance to kind of do like a 2-shift. So usually in the hospital, you're doing prescription delivery. Specifically, the pilot that we were doing was between the pharmacy and the cancer center. It's about a mile inside a hospital, if you believe it, and that's actually normal. This is average. But yeah, it was 100%. But next pilot that we're getting ready to launch with the new robot, we will actually be doing 1 full shift and 1.5 shift as well. So it'll be interesting to see from point A to point B what kind of issues we would have.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's funny. You just read into my next question, but we also have another. Hold on one moment. And what was and in your pilots, in getting from point A to point B, what was the biggest impediment that the robot faced?
You know, we thought it would be traffic, congested traffic, but it turned out to be really the small things, somebody leaving something in the elevator, or we have an issue with the door that would not open automatically. That's really the biggest impediment. So obviously, right, you know, all these kind of pilots were running with teleoperation. So we're monitoring the robot, if not having somebody behind it. So we could get over that. But those are the areas that we started registering. You know, it's unexpected, really. We thought some of the issues would be kind of opening the robot or the staff dealing. They actually took to it very fast. The issue was, again, infrastructure. It's always became a problem instead of the human element that we thought would be the bigger problem.
Yeah, absolutely. Another question from the audience: where are you in terms of your fundraise?
So right now we're going to a seed plus. Luckily, through the support of Michigan, MEDC, and Spark, we've been actually getting quite a bit of grants that's helping us along the way. But right now we're getting ready for a seed plus, and next year a Series A.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I don't see any other questions at the moment. So we're going to go ahead and move on over to our next presenter, Ray Smith, who's with a mobility consultant with IXR Mobility. They are focused on making sure we're building mobility in a very inclusive way. So Ray, take it away.
Yes, are you seeing my screen now?
We certainly are.
Oh, wow. Yeah, we were awarded a grant back in 2020 to develop a mobile app for the industry of non-emergency medical transportation services. The app was pretty much integrated app to where it could be useful for, it is useful for any transportation network. It was geared towards providing scheduling and on-demand services for people with disabilities and seniors. We deployed in the Highland Park and the Brush Park area. Also, what we did, we integrated it with a food delivery service as well. In other words, when a senior or someone with a disability ordered transportation to a medical appointment, they can also order a food box as well. Another thing that we did was we provided some resources in terms of, we deployed 3 vehicles for the project. The vehicle was a SUV, a sedan, also a paratransit vehicle, meaning that the vehicle was ordered based on the demand of that particular traveler. This is some of the research we had conducted in terms of how to deploy this particular app in particular demographic of population of people, with the veterans here, the transportation disadvantage, the geographical area, which was Highland Park in Detroit, 25-mile radius. The service was a free service. The service ran from October up into February for free. These were the modes of transportation: sedan, the paratransit van, and the see here, an SUV. This was the value for the service. The current service prior to the app, individuals have to schedule the ride via call center here. Now we tried to automate that system in terms of providing the app. They can download the app from either the Google Play Store or Apple Store, create a profile, and begin scheduling rides, whether on demand or pre-booked. Hold on here. This is one of the current systems here that Uber provides, but that service is not in the Detroit or the Michigan area, but it's very limited. They don't have, the last time I did some research, they didn't have an actual paratransit van. They was just mainly providing vehicles for people that was disabled, but would have to unload the wheelchair or what have you in the trunk of a vehicle or a van. Didn't have the particular automated ramps. Also, we collected, this is some of the KPIs that Apple actually was able to capture from the travelers. Vehicle KPIs as well, the app was able to capture. Another KPI for travelers as well. That's some of the studies that we did in terms of how to create or build trust in AV, which is autonomous vehicles. We did this here studies at the College of Creative Studies. That was back in 2017. Also, we worked with another grant applicant, which was Navia, to deploy the paratransit automated autonomous shuttle in the Brush Park area. That's another project we worked on. There was some of the press that covered the project. One of the seniors that actually utilized the services to a medical appointment. And that's the app itself, some of the functionalities of the app. But the thing, we also, based on our initial award, was led to many other projects. And this is another project that we worked with Highland Park, City of Highland Park, in terms of an AIM Challenge grant, where we actually helped Highland Park secure $225,000 for a multimodal platform and trip planning for the City of Highland Park. I think that's about it. So all the slides I have here.
Great, thank you. Well, we'll take a couple audience Q&A then. From our audience member, Marcus. Hello, Ray. How big was the network? How many individuals are currently using the application?
We have currently, we will say around registered members or travelers, about 1,000 at this point in time now. We're providing somewhere around 200 rides per week at this point in time. But the network is growing.
Great. Someone else asked, how many people participated in the pilot program directly in Brush Park?
Well, it was two projects we worked on. One was the shuttle, and that was strictly the Thomas shuttle. That was strictly deployed at Brush Park. But the other, the NMT, that covered the Highland Park and Detroit area. and that was the app deployment, which was a separate project from Bus Park. Because Bus Park strictly was the AV, the autonomous vehicle deployment, and the NMT, the app deployment was for residents in Detroit and Highland Park.
Great. Another member of our audience asks, what do you want to do in the next 6 months, with IXR mobility?
Well, right now we're working on the FTA AIM Challenge grant with Highland Park. That was a $225,000 grant award, and we're going to provide the same similar services, but that's going to require a different set of scope of work, meaning that will be strictly for Highland Park. It would be more like a shuttle, a connector, which would connect travelers to the fixed route bus terminals. So that's what we got working on for the next 6 months.
That's awesome. I'm excited to see where that takes the mobility community. Are there any?
Yeah, I mean, we got to thank Planet M for affording us that opportunity, because that led to these other projects we're working on. Also, we have a couple other projects that we putting together, one with the Department of Energy to deploy 2 autonomous shuttles on the M1, which is State Road, which is Woodward Avenue. So that's another project that we engage in as well.
Oh, that's great. Someone else just asked, or just suggested that you should reach out to the Point Area Assisted Transportation System, that they may have some need there, or just a suggestion from our friend David. Oh yeah,
we'll do, of course. Yeah, and like I say, for this project here, the application was the NMT. I mean, we didn't have many graphics, but the whole thing was to kind of streamline scheduling transportation service to medical appointments. But I think we accomplished that goal as well. Also to build out a mobile app network to the other providers that provide the same type of services. That was our aim and our goal, to make the app more integrated to other service providers.
Yeah, awesome. So many great questions from the audience. Thanks so much, Ray, for sharing your lessons.
Yeah, sorry about the technical difficulty a little bit.
Oh, no worries. No worries. So it ended up working out perfectly.
Thank you very much. Appreciate
You're welcome. You can feel free to stop sharing your screen.
Oh, awesome.
There we go. Real quick, just a little housekeeping. We are going to share a community connector sheet in the chat here in a moment. It's a Google sheet that you can enter your information in. It's great for networking and opportunities just to share some contact information. So there is a way to continue the conversation after. We will drop it in the chat right now, and feel free to jump in, fill it out as we go, and we'll remind everyone at the end of the event to check it as well. Next up, we are welcoming Jamie Sullivan, the Vice President of Sales with Dirk. Dirk is helping to build smart, autonomous roads, making cities smarter and safer, and enabling large mass deployment of autonomous vehicles at scale. Thanks, Jamie.
There would be help if I got off of mute. Good evening. So again, Jamie Sullivan with Dirk. So we're a startup that's duly incorporated in both Detroit and Dubai. So you guys are stuck with me tonight, as it's the middle of the night in Dubai for some of my founders. So give a little bit of background on Dirk. So we are an MIT startup, spinoff focused on eliminating road fatalities. We're a software platform. We don't manufacture or make any hardware. We try to be hardware independent, and focused on video analytics, artificial intelligence, and real-time situational awareness, and doing both active connected vehicle applications, as well as transportation and traffic safety insights. So in a quick sense, if you look on the left here, we are the software platform. Most of our intellectual property is around detecting, classifying, and predicting intent of vulnerable road users, people maybe stepping off the curb, and then sharing that information with vehicles, flashing beacon signage, autonomous vehicles to ultimately prevent that collision from happening, or at least add seconds back into the equation to provide a safety component. So we do that in a couple of different product platforms around our DirkSense, which is a connected autonomous vehicle for pedestrian alerts and perception. On the insights, doing analytics like near miss heat maps, wrong way driver, traffic violations, pedestrian violations, insights like things like car counts and those kinds of things, and types of vehicle classifications. And then another product that actually Michigan helped us kind of go down this path in developing is around forensics, doing crash detection and reconstruction. So we are globally deployed, lots of excitement, obviously a big focus in Michigan and Ohio in the Midwest, thanks to the partnership with Michigan, and I'll talk a little bit about that. Lots of awards. We've been fortunate to have won a number of awards with some startup opportunities, and lots of accolades, and working with some big companies there as well. So what we did with in Detroit was at the Randolph and Jefferson intersection, we did a partnership with MDOT and Planet M to demonstrate vehicle to everything kind of application capabilities, and show basically how the state of Michigan can partner with startups to provide safety and technology, and then obviously highlight Michigan's investment in that space. And then really, showcase how the investment in smart infrastructure can make roads safer, and hopefully some of that is going to be coming out with some federal funding around smart infrastructure, and that's here before too long. So a lot of these things are starting to pay off. So as we look at the Jefferson and Randolph intersection, if you're familiar with it, it's a very congested intersection. There's lots of things going on there. It's kind of broken up. It's one of the more dangerous ones in Detroit. Lots of vehicles over, pre-COVID, over 50,000 vehicles a day, and over 100 crashes per year. So part of this was also generating some press and media, and so we did a lot of that with partnership with MDOT. And the state at ITS America, and getting some profile media and press, which was great, and we were able to actually show some impact on the capabilities of what we were able to do at the intersection. I'll show some highlights of that here in a second, but again, lots of good press, lots of folks. One of the things I'll talk about is finding good folks to partner with at the state. So, Kirk, being at the state DOTs now in the private sector, but having great champions is really important, for getting traction within your startup, and then having a great partner like the state of Michigan. And ultimately, by partnering with the state, this enabled us to get access to all these, great big Fortune 500 companies, that we have ongoing conversations with all of them as we're figuring out what this transportation and autonomous and smart infrastructure environment is going to look like here someday. So just some insights from some of the things that we are doing at the intersection. So detecting near misses from potential collisions, from whether it's bicycles or pedestrians. This is hard to see, but you're going to see this number 21 coming through the middle of your screen, and this is a red light detection and prediction. But obviously, predicting that vehicle running through the red light, all these things are important components from the safety perspective. And then lane violations, so transferring from the turn lane into the through lane, and gathering a lot of this information from a predictability standpoint, as well as developing heat maps to help MDOT and Detroit to understand where safety concerns are. and how to basically redesign intersections around it. And that's a challenging intersection if you've ever driven through it. So and then a part of this is obviously developing graphs and charts and things like that to provide this empirical data. I think we all know where those dangerous intersections are, but now we have a way of providing that data to MDOT so that they can understand how to make some of these intersections safer. Obviously creating heat maps and some of these things that ultimately allow you to dive into individual events and get a little bit more detail on what's going on. So you can obviously deploy countermeasures and maybe look at planning and safety challenges. As maybe some of you know, these are all pedestrian bridges that are around this intersection, and they don't get used very often, as you could tell. So how do we design from a planning perspective to get more folks using those pedestrian bridges? And then obviously, again, back to some of the graphs and charts and that are coming out of this. So without the partnership with the state, we would not have been able to develop our product to this standpoint. So it was really important for us to have a key partner like MDOT and MCity that enabled us to get to this point of being able to develop some of these solutions. And this is just an example of something that we kind of picked up out of our deployments is being able to do crash detection. So you're going to see on that left screen that SUV bumped into the back of the other one, and then on the right screen you can see why that happened. And so we're able to use some of that it just kind of developed a new opportunity for us to develop some new products by partnering with the state and having access to some of this data and information. So that became a very important component to us. And then ultimately what happened is we were able to develop from a beginning to an end here. This is kind of a culmination of all we're doing now is predicting intent and identifying classification on the left, and on the right you're seeing prediction and where vehicles and pedestrians are ultimately being predicted to go and where their paths are going to take them to help do collision avoidance and those kinds of things. So without the partnership, we would not have been able to progress and get to that point to where we are today. So just real quickly, is some of the lessons. Obviously, partnering with the state was very important. So you have some great some leaders in the state that could do a lot of things for startups in terms of getting exposure, and then obviously getting valuable champions from the state. Michelle Mueller with MDOT, Kirk with MDOT, Trevor Paul, and Amanda Rohrf with Ford. So there's a number of folks that were influential in helping us and have been great champions, and obviously building an ecosystem. Startups, it's a challenge to try and do all this by yourself and trying to knock on all those doors with a limited amount of folks. So having some type of an ecosystem is critical. And then obviously having, from an idea standpoint, getting those opportunities for positive press and having cheerleaders to back you up and stand up for you has been critical for us as we expand and grow what we're doing. And we have some new projects we're hoping to announce here soon within Michigan, and some things that are coming out that will hopefully expand what we're doing there and have some announcements on that pretty soon. But they're only because of the ecosystem. And then again, as we talked about, from the product technology development standpoint, we were able to use, with partnership with the state, the ability to develop some new products and ideas from the technology that we were deploying with them. And then their positive feedback and negative feedback about what we were doing right, what we were doing wrong has been critical in us fine tuning and mastering what we do, for the rest of our customers and the state as well. So, the feedback is critical. And so, my recommendation is finding good partners within the state or even within large cities within the state of Michigan, where you can get those champions who are going to stand up and cheer you on and be references for you down the road. So, Allison, I think that's it for me.
Oh, thanks so much, Jamie. That was great.
Yeah.
Message from one of our audience members, David. Just curious, what changes have or might the state make at the Jefferson and Randolph intersection as a result of the data generated?
I'm not. We're not privy to what specific changes they're going to make, but one of the things that they fully understand that they have to. I didn't show it here, but we have a heat map. You saw some of it with the pedestrian violations and that. It's when you look at the total map of just everybody across the entire intersection, is people are crossing everywhere, and they recognize they got to do a better job of steering pedestrians to safer routes. And so I think that's a key takeaway that they're looking at right now, is to how to prevent some of these near misses and keep pedestrians using crosswalks and some of these pedestrian bridges. But you see a lot of those pedestrian walkways, those skyways there, but they're not being utilized enough. So that's probably the first thing that they're focusing on right now, is getting the folks to use those things that are available to them today.
Great lesson. You mentioned a couple times making sure you have those key partners at the state or city level. Any advice on how to start curating some of those relationships that would help guide your team, company, technology through that pilot?
Oh, sure. Yeah. I mean, obviously it's important to have some good advisors, and we have actually some good technology advisors and company advisors within the state of Michigan as well, who are influential and can identify where some of these projects and the right folks to be talking to, and quite frankly, can do introductions for you. And that's a big challenge, because the government folks are being targeted every day by companies to improve things, and they don't have time to respond to everybody. So getting good influencers who can who've got a good track record, and providing that door opening power to the right folks within the state is critical as well.
Absolutely. That's really good advice on having those key connections, mentors, advisors. And I do believe our friends with the MEDC are going to be joining us here at the end of the presentation. So they may also have some ideas and tips for that. Any other audience questions right now for Jamie? Feel free to pop them in the chat, or I'm sure he'd be happy to connect with you offline after the event. Thanks so much for sharing. I really like that you summarized a lot of those lessons.
Great, thank you.
Yeah. Our fourth company that we will be featuring on Lessons Learned in Piloting is May Mobility. We're welcoming Sam Robinson, who is in business development with May Mobility. May Mobility is a mobility company focused on transforming cities through autonomous green technology. Take it away, Sam.
Thank you. Can everyone see my screen? I was having a little technical difficulty earlier as well. Good to go. Okay, great. So, as Allison said, I'm with May Mobility. May Mobility is an Ann Arbor-based startup. We were founded in 2017, and our vision is to transform cities through our self-driving technology to create a safer, greener, more accessible world. And we do that by operating our own fleets of autonomous vehicles. We upfit and retrofit the vehicles in-house. All the software is our own, created in-house. And we've operated the vehicles in a variety of different settings, business districts, downtown, entertainment districts, things like that. So far, since the company's founding, we've launched 6 total pilots, which are the blue dots, if you can see the screen here, including the 2 in Michigan, in Detroit and Grand Rapids. And then the green dot is a future launch, also in the Midwest and Indianapolis, that we have coming up in the next month or so. So today, obviously, we're talking about mobility pilots in Michigan. So I wanted to focus in and talk about our Grand Rapids, Michigan deployment. It is a public-private partnership. So in addition to May Mobility, several key partners that brought the project to life, including the city of Grand Rapids, Planet M, Rockford Construction, Consumers Energy, Seamless and Start Garden, just to name a few. There were probably close to 10 partners in between public and private on the project. To date, we've moved over 80,000 riders along the route, which is a 3.2 mile fixed route. If you can see on the right-hand side, that is the public bus service in Grand Rapids. One of them is called the Dash, and our shuttles followed the Dash West route, which you can see in that photo. It's a great zone for us to showcase and improve our technology with the 20 stops for passengers to get on, 30 plus traffic lights, a ton of turns, and it travels through, if you're familiar with Grand Rapids, the downtown, and crosses Pearl. So it's kind of in the Bridge Street area as well. So the fleet was 9 total vehicles. We had 4 Polaris Gem fully electric vehicles en route at one time. And then we also, in December of 2019, deployed a wheelchair accessible vehicle to make sure that everyone had access to these rides and to our technology. It is a low speed solution currently. So we travel on roads with speeds up to about 35 miles an hour. However, in autonomy, our vehicles go a max speed of 22 miles an hour. And at this time, across all of our deployments, we do have what May calls a fleet attendant, which is a safety operator behind the wheel at all times, just for those sort of edge cases, to be an ambassador for the technology and to provide a comfortable experience for our riders. I think a common theme is, as individuals or as companies, as we've all been affected by COVID-19, this project was no different. We did take a pause in March of last year when COVID struck, and we used the time that we had in that pause to come up with what we call the clean shuttle solution. We added a partition to separate the front cabin of the vehicle where the operator sits from the back where the passengers sit. We added a UVC sanitizing system, and we run that in between every ride. We had hand sanitizers. We fogged the vehicles. So we really tried to up our safety. And thankfully, we were able to relaunch in August of last year. So August of 2020, after a few months, about a 4 or 5 month gap. Some things that we've learned, one of the things with these pilots is you're always introducing the public and cities to this new technology or to a new technology. Since we launched the service, we've had over a 90 NPS. People say it's a reliable and safe service, good availability, it's a comfortable ride. We want people to get in our vehicles, and we want the act of riding in an autonomous shuttle to feel boring. Like they don't even know that they're really riding in one, because it feels just like riding in any other vehicle or a bus or something like that. Some other facts: 23% of riders that chose to ride with us were first-time public transit users, and 24% of people, so about a quarter, indicated that AVGR, which is the name of the pilot program, caused them to try other forms of public transit as well, specifically the Dash bus system. So some highlights, obviously, post kind of the COVID protocols, we're only allowing one rider or one household in the vehicle at a time. That just makes it easier to kind of, we want to keep people safe. However, pre-pandemic, this service was moving more than 500 riders a day, which is our most successful deployment to date. That has been cut, but we are still seeing, I would say, more than 100, probably in between 100 and 125 riders a day, which, given the reduction in available seats, we're happy with. Again, the NPS has been high throughout, and I touched on the first-time transit usage. So some tips and tricks or lessons learned. I think, as Jamie touched on in the last one, finding great partners, both public and private, in the community that you're launching in. If you're trying to launch in a community, is important, as well as community engagement. For all of our deployments at May, in the time sort of leading up to the launch of the service, we host town halls with police and fire so they can, acquaint themselves with the vehicles and ask questions about the batteries and things like that in case, they ever needed to respond in any situation. And we also do town halls with the public so they can ask questions, whether it's about the service hours or just, help them build comfort and trust in the technology. I think another big thing that May has really learned is, our transit systems and the people that run those should really be praised for the, operational readiness and efficiency that they bring every day. It's hard to run, an effective, efficient service. Outside of the technology, or maybe even first in place of the technology, I think really making sure that we're providing, a great service and we're operationally ready from maintaining the vehicles and things like that. That's probably been one of our biggest learning curves. So, always make sure you do your due diligence there. And then I think if COVID has taught us anything, obviously it's to be adaptable and flexible. I mentioned the pause, but we were able to change our product in some ways to make it a clean, safe solution, and to be able to welcome people back into the vehicles and continue giving rides. We have a great partnership in Grand Rapids with all of the partners that I mentioned, as well as some others. This project is still ongoing, and we look forward to continuing it for a long time to come. And that's all I've got.
Awesome. Thanks, Sam. That was great. I'm glad that pilot was able to maintain and continue forward even after the COVID-19 pause.
Yeah.
We do have a few questions from the audience. Marcus asks, hi, Sam. What are some of your current competitors in the space, and how many cars do you have in the fleet at the moment?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we sort of have two sets of competitors, I would say. We have maybe like the robo taxi crowd, if you want to call it that. So that's like our more well-funded competitors, I would say, like Waymo and Cruise, Argo, obviously backed by Ford. And then there are also some that are doing what we're doing. May really sees ourselves as a complement to public transit. We don't want to replace it. We want to boost it. And there are some competitors like Easy Mile or Navia and some competitors like that.
Yeah.
And then total number of vehicles in the fleet. Right now we have approximately, sorry, I'm just doing the math in my head. I would say around 25 vehicles in the fleet right now across all deployments.
That's pretty great. David asks, what is the 5-year goal and or exit plan for May Mobility?
Yeah, so I think the 5-year goal is to continue to grow and to continue to provide this service, to more cities and more communities around the country or around the globe. We had on the map, we recently became a global company. We had our first launch in Japan. So I think for us, I wouldn't say there really is an exit strategy. I think it's to continue to grow as a company, both in the Midwest and around the world. And in addition to fixed routes, we now have an on-demand solution, so a little more what we call point-to-point routing. So I think continuing to explore different use cases that sort of fill those gaps for cities and help make sure everyone uses some form of public transit.
Yeah, that's great goals. Matthew says, thanks for sharing. Do you see autonomous software becoming a commodity in the future? If so, does May have a competitive advantage at that?
I'm going to ask a follow-up. By commodity, do you mean where the software can be sort of plugged and played on any sort of vehicle? Is that?
So, sorry.
Ed?
Yes.
Yeah. So I think I think it definitely will become a commodity, and I think there are some in the space that are already focusing on being able to just take their stack of technology. Sorry, that's my dog, and put it on any vehicle or work with any partner. I think May continues to envision ourselves being more of a turnkey kind of. That's how we envision where we're providing everything from the software to the vehicle, and yeah, less plug and play and more the whole turnkey operation for us. Yeah,
Absolutely. Was there anything that surprised you most about the Grand Rapids pilot? 25% is 25% first time riders is seems like a big amount.
Yeah, I think that was, a good surprise, I would say. And then I think the way that the city has really embraced service, in terms of, like I said, pre-pandemic, we were seeing 500 to 600 people a day. And, the platform that we use only seats 4 people. So that, we were having full shuttle after full shuttle, and people really buying into the technology and not being nervous or afraid of it. And so I think that was our goal, obviously, but that was nice to see as well.
Really nice to see. Follow-up question from Julie. Is there a cost to consumers for riding?
Great question. So in all of our deployments to date, there has not been a cost. Generally, we work, again, with those public and private partners, grants, and then, some private funds to provide the service for free to consumers. That doesn't mean we won't charge in the future as we explore other things, but not to date.
That's great. Well, thanks so much, Jamie. We have a proponent for somebody asking to see if the dog's on the board, and or if not, get him aboard. So thanks again for sharing.
Thank you.
Yeah, those were our 4 presenters for tonight and lessons learned in mobility. Quick reminder to check out the community networking sheet. A link is in the chat. The sheet is a way to connect after the event. So leave your LinkedIn, areas of help or expertise, maybe mention, a little bit about what you're looking to connect with or who, and we can make sure you can grab some information from there, and or we can help foster some of those connections. To wrap us up for the evening, we're going to bring Catherine from the MEDC on to share an exciting announcements and a few updates on their end at the state level.
Yeah, thanks so much, Allison. And thank you to Bamboo for this event and for giving me a chance to present. It's been great to work with all the companies that presented today in the past. My name is Catherine Snorson. I'm the Managing Director with Michigan's Office of Future Mobility and Electrification. It's a much longer title than Planet M, who we used to be. So just the quick history there. Planet M was started as a brand back in 2016. And then at the beginning of 2020, when Governor Whitmer created the Office of Future Mobility and Electrification, we like to say Planet M, graduated and moved over from Planet M to the office. So still the same team working on the same type of services like grants and connections, but with an expanded scope, vision, and team, because we now include policy in addition to programming that we offered before. So I just wanted to really quickly share our webpage and then our newly launched grant program. So those on the call who are interested in applying for a grant, just like some of these companies did, you do have that opportunity now. So if you want to learn more about the office, you just go to michiganbusiness.org/OFME, and you can read more about our vision. And you can see there my boss, Trevor Paul, the Chief Mobility Officer for the state of Michigan. Some people mentioned him today. So you can learn more about the office and what we're doing there. And then our newly launched grant program. So it used to be called the Planet M Mobility Grants, and it was launched from 2018 to 2020. Focus on grants for mobility companies looking to deploy their technology at both test sites in the state of Michigan, like the American Center for Mobility and M-City, but also in real world settings, like you heard from many of the presenters today. And so we took those lessons learned from launching grants for 2 years, and we worked with MDOT actually to create the Michigan Mobility Funding Platform, because MDOT has been a great partner in deployments, and they've actually launched some of their own mobility challenges in the past as well. So taking all those collective lessons learned and brainpower, we created the Michigan Mobility Funding Platform. And you can learn more on our website, michiganbusiness.org/mobility funding. And we're looking for companies who, just like you heard from some of the presenters today, address a real use case and need of Michigan residents. So creating a safer, more equitable and environmentally conscious transportation options for all Michigan residents. And then we're also looking for companies who, want to test and deploy their technology, but then scale and grow and find larger success here in Michigan. So it was great to hear you heard all the presenters talk about how they deployed their technology in one location and then grew it. It grew to other locations in Michigan, which is definitely what we want to see through our grant program. And then we're looking for applicants who are focused on one of 3 areas. So sustainable futures, EV adoption, building out the EV charging infrastructure, equitable futures, creating affordable and reliable transportation options, and then multimodal transportation, ensuring that Michigan is on the forefront across all connected and autonomous transportation modes across land, air, space, and sea. There's some eligibility requirements here, a focus on one of those 3 areas. In the past, with our Plan and M grants, we would provide about 75% of the grant and then have the applicant and their partners provide the other 25%. We removed those percentages, and we're just saying that, apply for the gap funding that you need. So find those Michigan partners that you need for your deployment, bring all your funding and resources together, and then figure out what percentage you need to apply for. So that might only be 5 or 10%, or that might be 30%, but we really are looking for you to apply for the gap funding to the state of Michigan. And demonstrate how the grant will help your company grow. And then just to close up here, because I know we're almost at time. Also, if you're looking to deploy in a real world environment, you do need a Michigan partner, which you heard from a lot of the presenters today talk about how key that is to have the right partners around the table for the success of the pilot, and then address a true local use case. And both applications are live here. Again, if you want to test at a test site like ACM, M-City, and others across the state, or in a real world setting, both applications are live, and it's a rolling application. So no strict deadline. We don't want to create any artificial timeline for you. Work at your own pace. And the grant will not end at the end of December of this year. It'll continue past that. We just provide the first few review windows for you. And then you can review the rest of the information on our website when you get a chance. And if you scroll all the way to the bottom past the FAQ section, if you have more questions about the grant program, you can submit them here. These go right to my inbox. So I'm happy to answer those for you. And thanks for the time today.
Absolutely. Thanks, Catherine. Good to know it's getting real eyes on it. So everyone should definitely check out that awesome funding opportunity and partnership opportunity. Just want to say a quick thank you for everyone who tuned in today. We will be hosting this event quarterly throughout the year. So our next one will be in July with other versions and presenters on lessons learned in a topic around mobility. But coming up even before that, on May 19th, we at Michigan Central and Bamboo will be hosting a panel discussion focused on opportunities in venture capital for mobility startups. We'll hear from founders who've recently closed rounds and investors who support that journey, discussing when to take investment, different strategies on fundraising, and how to get the right partners and capital to grow. So we're going to drop that RSVP link in the chat. That's again on May 19th at 1 o'clock. We hope to see you there and see you at future events coming up with Michigan Central this year. On that note, everyone have a lovely Tuesday afternoon, evening, and we'll talk to you later. Thanks.